make a keyboard for this thing.
Or just done it themselves again. Because again, it's the same company that made the Pixel C, which is the best keyboard tablet of all time.
Welcome to the Android Police podcast. I am your host, Will Saddleberg, filling in once again as main host for Daniel Bader, who I think is lost in the Amazon right now. I think he might be in Peru trying to find a small bear in the jungle. Unclear where Daniel Bader is, but we send him all the best. I'm kidding. He's on vacation. As promised, joining us this week, truly long overdue. Honestly rude that I had not invited him on yet. It's Ben Schoon from 9to5 Google. Ben, hello. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on.
Do you appreciate when people take the time to learn how to pronounce your last name?
Yeah, a little bit. Especially because I've made it very easy with the bio.
I definitely have never asked you and definitely learned through your Twitter bio. If it's still there. It used to be
Yeah,
there.
it is.
Yeah. Ben, you're I would consider you a good friend of mine. We have hung out many times in person at various tech events and a cruise.
Yeah, there was a
ill-fated cruise. And speaking of OnePlus, we're going to start by talking about the OnePlus Watch 3, which is going to quickly devolve into us talking about tariffs. So if you, the listener, do not want to hear us talk about what is technically a politically adjacent story, but I frankly, tariffs are the biggest story in the world, and certainly the tech world right now as well. I just can't picture a reason or a way we can't talk about them, and we have the perfect jumping off point with the OnePlus Watch 3. So I won't judge you for skipping it. If you want some mindless entertainment, I get it. The rest of the show is going to be a little sillier, but we're going to start talking about tariffs. I also should say that the Pixel 9a review embargo lifted today. My review is coming next week. Ben at 9to5, Abner published yours. You have not used the phone, correct?
I have not used it yet.
Used the phone. I can now show it. I think I had it last week, but I couldn't show it. But I have my Iris one here. It's a very good phone. We'll talk about it more with Daniel next week. But I wanted to kind of give it a shout out because I know people will be looking for that opinion or discussion. And it's definitely a phone worth talking about. It's actually a really interesting phone in a very boring way, which I think we'll talk about more next week. But just know that exists. It's very good. There's one little speed bump with it not running QPR2 software. The updates.
It's just so weird.
It's very odd. It mostly doesn't matter for this phone. If you scroll through what was added in QPR2, it's mostly stuff that doesn't affect this device, with a couple exceptions. I found it because I went looking for the new modes feature and it's not here. Or it kind of is, but it's not complete. But otherwise, yeah, it's a very good phone, and certainly the best A-series phone yet, in my opinion. So more on that next week. Sorry to tease you, Ben. See, you'll have to listen to the podcast now. No, we're going to start with the OnePlus Watch 3, which I think, Ben, you and I both started today, Thursday, as we record this. We should be clear, actually, when we're recording this, because who knows what could change from this conversation. So it is Thursday, April 10th. At 2:47 p.m. Eastern. The OnePlus Watch 3, which for those who might not remember, was delayed because of a typo. I think our headline was a typo that's a software patch could not fix or something like that. For those who don't remember, the OnePlus Watch 3 was set to go on sale in February, I think. And thank you, Ben. And if anyone's ever wondering what it's like when I talk to Ben, it's mostly just me being like, Ben, this is right? And Ben goes, yep. And I go, cool, thank you. Or he goes, no. Every now and then there's a no. And I'm like, oh, thank you even more. Yeah, so the OnePlus Watch 3 is supposed to launch in February, literally hours before this thing is supposed to start. Actually, some of them had shipped to users, but literally as this is going live on on their store, on the internet, it's discovered that the back of the watch says MEDA, MEDA in China instead of made in China. A stupid typo. Mm-hmm. I have the OnePlus Watch 3 in front of me. It is almost impossible to see if you are not looking for it. The fine print here is so small. I don't think I ever would have found it. I frankly don't inspect the backs of smartwatches very closely, usually, even when I'm reviewing them, and I am reviewing this, and I'm almost done with my review, which I was holding back until this thing was on sale, and boy, does this news story make things a little more complicated. Um, so OnePlus at the time was like, oh, if you got one with the typo and you want to keep it, that's fine. Go for it. Consider it a collector's item. If you want to send it back, we'll send you a new one. And we're going to wait for a new batch. It's going to take like a month or so. So here we are. It's April 10th. This morning, these watches go back on sale on their website. And instead of being $330, which was already like a fairly expensive price, like it's not.
It's a good price for what it is.
That's a good way of putting it, Ben. It's a good price for what it is, but it's still a lot of money for a smartwatch, I would say. You can find cheaper options. It's $500. No notification from OnePlus, which is rare because OnePlus will send you emails when their products go up.
Yeah, they're very
even
good
if you already know under embargo, they will contact you and let you know what's for sale. You and I both independently for our respective workplaces reached out to OnePlus to ask what's up, and the comment back was no comment, which I think took it from like, is it a mistake? Is this a bugged website? To this is almost certainly tariff related in some way. So obviously, I don't need to catch up everyone, I think, on the tariff thing. If I tried, it would take the entire show, even though it's only been 8 days since Liberation Day. So I encourage you to go read up on it if you're not familiar. But the tariff rates that would have caused the OnePlus Watch 3 to jump from $330 to $500 really only went live within the last like few days. Really, yesterday's tariffs or Monday's tariffs. It was Monday when a lot of them went into effect. We're up to, as of recording, 145% tariffs on China, which is more than double an item's prices and taxes. It's about a 50% increase in price. It's not a, is that correct, Ben? I think you did the math.
It's just under 52%.
There we go. Thank you. So it's not quite the like level of tariffs. Clearly, like OnePlus and its parent company is like eating some of this. I have to imagine some of these units were already in the United States before this price went up. But I think my theory, and obviously OnePlus isn't saying anything, my theory is that they are essentially looking at how many units they had here and going, well, we're going to have to raise the price on this in a week, or whatever. If we don't just do it now, so let's just do it now, and everybody has to pay this inflated price for this watch. But it's really like the first gadget we've seen skyrocket in price as a result of these tariffs. And Ben, I kind of want your take on this entire thing. Like, do you see the OnePlus Watch 3 as a worthwhile device at $500? Should anyone even consider it at this price? Like, do you expect it to eventually drop? Like, what do you think is going on?
It's a good question. It's really hard to say that it's worth it, because if I remember right, it was already up in price from the previous generation, and really there's not that much different this time. It's a little bit better battery life, a little bit better hardware, but it was already, in my mind at least, kind of a tough call. Because the reason we didn't have a review up yet either is just because like I was using the thing. I'm like, I don't have enough new to say to make an interesting review. So I said, Damien, this is your first time using it. Go for it, because he'll have a lot more insight into it. Yeah, I was just like, at $500, that's I'm trying to even think what else. The Galaxy Watch Ultra is $650.
I was going to say it's still
and that has
under
LTE.
The Galaxy Watch Ultra, although yes, that is an LTE model, and OnePlus has hinted at a cellular model of this watch coming, as well as a smaller one, but neither have materialized.
And I can't imagine they will now.
Exactly, which is you and I were talking about this morning of like, we've heard all of these rumors about the OnePlus 13T. Not even really rumors. Like the OnePlus China president is like on social media, like teasing this thing and calling it the OnePlus 13T and talking about how it's a smaller device.
Yeah, and they showed the box even too. So like it's coming.
There we go. Right, exactly. And so I would be shocked if that thing launched in the US anytime, like while this trade war is going on. And obviously, I say this is the first gadget with a price hike post Liberation Day, and I to my knowledge that's true, but we've seen I think like 2 hours after we finished recording the podcast last week, maybe not even, was when the Switch 2 pre-orders in the US and later Canada were delayed. We've seen Razer just fully stop taking laptop orders. We've seen non-tech companies like luxury car makers like just stop fulfilling orders, and obviously that was under the like truly insane rates that Trump had set a week ago. We're back. As we're recording, who knows what is happening when you are listening to this? But as we're recording, everything is down to, or almost everything is down to a 10% reciprocal tariff, except for China and Canada and Mexico, bizarrely on steel tariffs and a few other tariffs, which are, I think, at 25. It is so hard to keep all of these numbers in my head when they're changing constantly. I mean, I would genuinely put it at like a 90% chance those numbers are not correct as you're listening to this. We've seen a lot of diversification outside of China from the tech community. Google makes phones not just in China now, but also in Vietnam and India. And in fact, I will eventually go grab the Pixel 9a box to ensure that it was made in Vietnam, but I believe it was.
And I think they've been mostly shifting out of China. I don't think
they have. Yes.
Yeah, I don't think anything is exclusively made in China at this point.
No, and they're not. Obviously there might be parts in the phone made in China, but like it's manufactured in Vietnam. We've seen Nintendo do similar things. Apple is like, what was the number? Like 600? No, not. It couldn't be 600 tons, was it? It was a dumb amount of.
That's exactly what it was. It was 600.
God, I was about to say it, and I was like, that can't be right. Yeah, nuts. And as our producer Jules brings up in the chat here, Motorola would be the other big question mark here. And today, as we're recording, the company confirmed they're holding their Razr launch on April 24th, which is 2 weeks away. And I am wondering if that phone even has a release date for the US, if they just say it's coming soon. Because, we've heard rumored that thing is already up to $1,100. Are they going to charge $1,500 for it at launch? So I do wonder the kind of impact this is going to have on the tech industry as a whole, but really Android manufacturers specifically in the case of this podcast. So what do you see in the future for companies like Motorola or Google or Apple or really any smartphone OEM, Ben?
I feel like Jules is definitely correct here when he said that OnePlus and Motorola are probably the two biggest ones to be concerned about because their parent companies are in China, whereas Google, Samsung, there's a little more flexibility there, a little bit less of an impact. And we know that Motorola will almost definitely have an impact just because Lenovo already had an impact with the Legion Go S going up in price.
Right, yeah.
Without saying anything. And then also the Legion tablet.
I did forget about,
which is that Android tablet from CES that was already on the market at $499 and is now $599.
You must be happy that you've bought 17 of them.
Oh, yeah.
Ben has not bought 17 Lenovo tablets. I just like making.
No, I just really like that tablet.
For the one that you bought? One?
Yes,
right?
I bought one.
Okay. I actually couldn't remember if Ben bought two.
No, I bought one.
Not a joke.
My parents very much wanted one, but they ended up getting an iPad mini because that was significantly cheaper, especially now. OnePlus, Motorola definitely going to be the two most impacted here.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's going to affect everybody at some point.
Yeah, I mean, it's 145%. Again, as we're speaking. Like, I don't, we haven't, China didn't hit back with a percentage today as they have the last 2 days, but they hit back by saying they're not going to show as many US films in theaters, which is certainly their own way of hitting back. Although I don't have numbers in front of me on this, but I do believe that post-COVID, US export of film has mattered a lot less in China. The Chinese blockbuster market has built up in a way post-COVID that it doesn't, I don't know if it matters as much as it would have 7 or 8 years ago, but still, it's still a hit back. And since I said I would go grab the box, I did. The 9A was says phone made in Vietnam, accessories made in China. So I assume
the cable.
I was going to say, I don't think that's talking about the case, because why would the box talk about the case?
Yeah, it's probably the cable.
I think it's the cable. Exactly. All made in China. So maybe we see after this first round, like you buy a 9A in a few months and you look at the back, it's phone and accessories made in Vietnam. Like, I can't imagine it would be difficult for Google to move how they source things like the cable and the SIM card to Vietnam. Although I'm not a trade expert, so I'm not going to pretend to be. Jules points out that the phone jumps to $550, but the case jumps to $150, which would be very funny. Listen, it's a fine case. All the Google cases are fine these days. They're fine. I don't have a conclusion here because we have built this house on quicksand, essentially. Like,
Yeah.
genuinely, we can't get through anything without, a single day without like some kind of major change. I mean, like, the White House shot down the word of a 90-day pause on Monday, and then yesterday that turned out to be real. It's a 90-day pause, but still with 10% tariffs. So yeah, it's tricky, but I think it shows that companies like Nintendo were probably smart to delay pre-orders. If
Oh, 100%.
Motorola, yeah, if Motorola and Lenovo are smart, they will just say coming soon on the Razr and hope that in June there's a deal in place that allows them to sell it at the price they want to sell it at, or close to the price they want to sell it at. Or as it's going to be we're headed towards a recession. It's it may be both. It's impossible to say.
Yeah, it's impossible to predict anything out more than like a couple weeks at this point. Even then, it's difficult.
I'm kind of surprised the 9A went on sale as planned today. I almost half expected Google to silently be like, yeah, due to a global trade difficulties, we are holding off on the launch of the Pixel 9A. Like, I'm actually a little surprised that it launched seemingly without a hitch. Although it's possible that they stockpiled these phones as well and were able to check the whatever component was giving them issues without having to like completely rebuild it. Who knows? But
Yeah, especially with the delay, I think they probably had enough time to
yeah,
get at least a few months worth
probably not 600
together.
tons.
No,
If I
definitely
had
not
to guess.
600 tons. Do you think they're even going to sell 600 tons worth of Pixel 9As?
No, I don't. Although, again, good phone. We'll talk about it more next week. Oh, we should also say an adjacent story. The TikTok deal was supposed to happen late last week / into the weekend. Last Saturday was which I believe was the 5th, was the date for like the TikTok had to be sold to a US company or be banned. And instead it was just extended for another 75 days because the trade war basically had China pull out of the deal that had been drawn up. So that is how much this trade war is affecting tech, right? Like, I as much as it is technically a political story, it is, I think, impossible to look at consumer technology on any level at any scale without thinking about what the current tariffs mean moving forward and what will happen tomorrow and the next day, like, and so forth. Ben, any final thoughts on tariffs? Final.
No, just
it's not going to be final.
No,
any final thoughts for now?
You're gonna spend all of next week talking about this. No, just that it's impossible to predict what's going to happen, but also that I was very curious how many Pixel 9a's 600 tons is. And very rough math, it's about 3 million.
They could
That's
sell
doable.
They could sell 3 million Pixel 9a's.
It's doable.
They could sell, yeah, that
is not including the box. That is just the phone. So it's probably less than that.
It's a little less, yeah. It's a really good phone at a really good price. If they can keep it at $500, they could sell it. Yeah, wow. Also, at a certain point, Nintendo is going to put the Switch 2 back up for pre-order, and it will either be the price it was supposed to be, or it won't be. But either way, I'll be talking about it because I'll be pre-ordering one. So, yeah, that's tariffs, and we will touch on wherever we are next week. Oh, we should say one final OnePlus Watch 3 thought that I've had, which is that they should have just shipped this thing with the typo. Who cares?
100%.
I
no
get
one would
why
have cared.
No one would have cared. I get why at the time they were like, we should do what's right and fix and pause orders and fix this. What they should have done was thrown up a notice on the website, offer exchanges for people who wanted them.
Yeah. 100%.
And been like, eventually new units will not have this typo. If you order one today, you may or may not get one with the typo. It doesn't affect the watch at all in any way
whatsoever.
Like, it's truly just the word made spelled wrong. Like, you'd be fine. So it's disappointing, I think, in retrospect. And I'm sure that company is frustrated in retrospect that they chose this route, because I think they would have been better off just pushing. And we probably still would have seen this price hike, but maybe it'd be in a couple weeks, right? Like, maybe, and obviously people who wanted the watch would have had a month to buy it at $300, actually, because it was a $30.
Yeah, coupon. But they are probably very glad that they did not accept pre-orders for this past month. and it's just
No.
been not available.
Yeah.
Because if they had accepted pre-orders, they'd be
They'd be
that'd be in
eating
a
that money.
deep hole. Deep
Absolutely.
hole.
Absolutely. Okay. Welcome back to anyone who just skipped the tariff section. That's okay. I get it. It's a stressful time. Instead, we're going to talk about ecosystems and ecosystem lock-in. So we have a feature from over the weekend on the site right now called Google's Ecosystem Lock-in is getting stronger. Here's what you can do about it. It'll be in the show notes. I recommend everyone go and read it if you're spelling it like OnePlus. But Ben, I kind of want to use this as like a jumping off point, which is to ask you, what do you see as the state of tech ecosystem lock-in right now? Like, not just in the Android world, obviously, because like Samsung has its own sense of lock-in, but on a grander scale, including Apple, including Microsoft, like, how do you see tech ecosystem lock-in?
I mean, realistically, it's kind of worse than ever. I think everyone wants to lock you in some way, shape, or form, whether
Yeah,
that's like Apple has always wanted to do that, but I mean, it literally everyone wants to lock you in, and they're all getting really good at it.
they are.
So it's really, at least the way I've looked at it, because I try to live as tech agnostic as I can, to where I
We
can just
have
use
to.
anything.
Yeah,
But
in this job, it's like required that
oof.
you don't buy into an ecosystem and or you buy into every ecosystem,
Yeah,
which is actually worse.
yeah. Anyone who wants to be like that, or honestly, just anyone who wants to be able to use multiple kinds of products, kind of just has to pick and choose what ecosystems they're going to get locked into and where. So yeah, I think everyone is getting very, very bad about it. That's where my thought ends.
What ecosystem do you feel the most locked into right now? Because for me, it is absolutely like my Google account. Just my Google account in general is the one I feel locked into.
Yeah, I would say I feel locked into it, but I also feel like Google's a decent place to be locked into
It is
because
for the most part, yeah.
there obviously everything has its downsides, but at least with Google, you're buying into a lock-in where the lock-in doesn't determine what you can and cannot use, because
Right. If you buy an
you
iPhone, you can go download all of the Google
yeah,
apps
if you
and
want to
still
use Windows,
right.
if you want to use Mac, if you want to use Linux, if you want to use Chrome, if you want to use an Android phone, an Apple Watch, like whatever you're using in
Yeah.
whatever way, Google's going to kind of find their way into that. And I don't think everyone does that. Like Apple certainly doesn't.
No.
But also, I feel like I try not to lock everything into Google. Probably
It's
the biggest.
tricky. It's
It
so
is.
easy. Like it's
Oh, it really is.
I've been frustrated with some of the changes to photos lately. I've absolutely complained to you about this. And I've been feeling a lot like, yes, I can get my 15 years of photos out of Google Photos. I'm rounding up a little bit, but it's pretty close to 15 years. That would one be like a terrible pain, like just a pain in the ass, and like would be frustrating to download. I have no idea how many gigabytes of photos and videos
Yeah.
I have in Google Photos, to be honest with you. I don't, it's not nothing. It's not like I've used 2 terabytes of cloud data, but it's a lot. And you know, if I wanted to jump ship off of Google for any reason, and like sometimes I do, it's one of those things where it's even just the cloud data, I think, kind of keeps you locked in a way that like Google does not have to build an ecosystem of products. They have, but they don't have to, because it's like, where are you going to go for your search? Where are you, what, you're going to switch email providers in 2025? Like no one does that anymore. Like
Yeah.
you're going to move to Dropbox or Amazon Photos for your photo collection? Probably not. Almost every application you open has a Google sign in, regardless of what device you're on, which is not true for products like Apple. Like Apple sign in is nice if you're on an like an Apple device, but the second
Yeah.
you're not, it's miserable. And you and it actually, like, I have effectively been locked out of a few accounts because I was dumb and, while on an Apple device, used sign in with Apple thinking I would never need to access this application on another product. And then you do, and you're like, well, I can't log in on the web or on Android because it's locked to Apple's account, which is, you know, my own mistake. So yeah, it is interesting that like I have this dual dichotomy of like, to your point, Ben, and I agree with you, Google's account lock-in is the easiest ecosystem to bring to other places, which is I think why you and I have fallen so deep, or one of the reasons you and I fell so deep into things like Android when we were younger. But on the other hand, it's almost like even harder to get rid of because it has infected every single
Yeah.
aspect of my digital life in a way that Apple has not, even though I have Apple products. Like Microsoft has not, even though I'm recording this on a Windows laptop right now.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, and that's just where like I get kind of I try to choose things that, like, to your point about sign-ins. I use Google sign-ins on occasion, but most of the time I will just put in the extra minute during an account setup to make a username and password.
All right, but what's your password manager?
One password, because I refuse.
Thought I had you.
No, I refuse to use. I am weirdly terrified of Google passwords, like not being
No,
killed,
I am too.
but just like if I get locked out of my Google account, then I'm also locked out of everything.
Everything. It's one of those things where I'm like, no, I actually kind of want my passwords to be separate from the Google account because I have to log into my Google account. Like I want, my password manager has like, it's the longest password of any of my accounts. Like nothing else has a password as long as that, or is hopefully secure as that, because that's the master key. And I don't want my Google account to be the master key when it needs to be protected.
100%. Yeah, no, I understand why a lot of people do use Google passwords because it's just easier.
It's so easy.
Especially it integrates into Chrome so much better.
Yeah. Chrome and Android. It's like Android, for whatever reason, you and I have talked about this. I have much better luck with autofill services on iOS these days than Android.
Yeah, Android's autofill is bad, especially depending on what password manager you're using. It works really well if you're using Google's. I think 1Password is in the second tier down. LastPass was trash.
I used to use LastPass, and I think it was the second data breach where I was like, I gotta get out of here. And I think there's been like 2 or 3 more major ones since. And every time there's one, I'm like, I've never been so vindicated to put the work into exporting. And by work, I mean, it probably took like 15 minutes to switch providers. It actually wasn't that hard to move password managers. But yeah, it's so fascinating how, like, for as much as we focus on like the Pixel ecosystem, which is obviously has expanded pretty exponentially over the last like 3 or 4 years alone. Like I feel like it was the Pixel 7 launch, which was the first in-person phone launch I went to where they really started talking about, like, they said ecosystem on stage like a lot. I'm sure they said it before that, but like that was the one where they were like, here's a tease of the Pixel tablet, which they'd eventually release the next year. And the was that the first? That was the first Pixel Watch. So that was the first Pixel Watch.
Yeah, the Pixel 7 launch was the first. The tablet tease was was at I/O that year.
Yeah, it was. I always forget this. They teased it at I/O. They teased it again at the Pixel 7 launch, and then at I/O the next year, they were like, "Here it is," and I held it in my hands, and I went, "Not very good, guys. You should try harder." And they were like, "You're right. We'll never make one again."
And they genuinely might not.
They might not. Yeah, it's crazy. It is crazy because, like, oh God, okay. I truly, so I just, and Jules, you can throw this in the show notes. I just over the weekend ran a piece about, I tried out Marina's, I hope I'm saying that right, Marina's de-Googled tablet, the EOS tablet, Ben.
Yeah.
Which was my first time actually. There we go. Unfortunately, my unit is in the box waiting to be shipped out, or I'd go grab it. But that's the first time that I've ever used a Pixel tablet as like a daily driver, not just in an I/O hands-on. And it's just not very good. It's fine, but like it's heavily flawed in a way where you're like, well, they would have fixed all of this in a second generation model, but now we know that is like probably not coming anytime soon, if ever. I expect Google to do a tablet again, because every time they give up on tablets, they eventually find their way back.
Yep.
But it is really frustrating that the first gen Pixel tablet was more of a, there's lots of potential here, in the same way that the first gen Pixel Watch had. There was lots of potential, and they fixed, with the 2 and especially the Pixel Watch 3, they've really brought the Pixel Watch to a really good place, and that's not so much true with the Pixel tablet. It's a flawed device. It's not terrible, but it's flawed.
Yeah, I think it also depends on how you look at it, because I bought my Pixel tablet, and because I this is not a review unit, I bought it. And I still use it to this day. I've been using it since it came out, because I don't think of it as a normal tablet. I really like it as like a
Smart
desk
display.
tablet.
Oh,
smart
okay, yeah,
display.
yeah,
So
yeah.
like it is my eating lunch or whatever. This is my I'll
Yeah.
watch videos on it or whatever. Or just my second display. But I really do love the idea of being able to grab it, bring it somewhere else if I need to. I think it's a fundamentally good idea,
Yeah, I agree.
but
I agree.
I think that by focusing heavily on that idea, they also kind of shortchange themselves on what the tablet could be. Because by focusing on that, they had to make the display a lot worse. Releasing a 60 hertz display on such an expensive tablet was a terrible idea,
It's also just
even
in
2 years
general
ago.
it's not a very good display. Like it's
No, it's
fine,
not. It's
but
perfectly acceptable for a home tablet, but that's it.
that's it. Even compared to, I have the latest iPad, the 11th gen one, but it's got the same screen as the 10th gen one, so it doesn't matter. But like even compared to that screen, and those tablets are about the same price, the iPad one is a little better. They're both
Yeah.
60 hertz, but like you just look at them and you're like, no, I would rather like. There's something a little almost like washed out about the Pixel
Hmm.
tablet screen that
I
is
agree.
not there on the iPad.
Which I kind of think might be because of what it is, because it's
I think
a
so.
device that is meant to be sitting on a dock with its screen on
Yeah,
8 hours a
constantly.
day.
Yeah,
I think by nature you have to pick a screen that's going to be more durable
survive
than
that.
it is
Yeah,
more flashy.
because you're right. I have a Nest Hub Max in my kitchen, and it's a very similar. When you look at
Yeah.
it, you're like, it's not a bad screen, but it is certainly dated at this point. But it's kind of washed out.
And it's the same thing in like cars too.
Yeah, yeah.
That's also
Good
why
point.
cars displays aren't as good as they should be. And I also think that that focus also prevented them from making a decent accessory ecosystem for it, which initially I said was probably a good idea because I thought, that might help focus people into what this thing is versus being an iPad, and that didn't work. So they probably should have just, made a keyboard for it, or at least partnered with someone to make a keyboard for it. Because I will say, like, I wanted to use this thing
They don't make it easy.
it's impossible. It's
Yeah,
impossible because
it's not great.
there are no good cases for it. There's not a keyboards should be something that can work for more than one device, but unless it's made for that device, it kind of just sucks.
Well, it's one of those things where it's like, okay, you buy like a generic, like works with any tablet Bluetooth keyboard on Amazon, right? Maybe it has like a little slot at the front for you to like prop
Yeah.
up the tablet. It's like, okay, take that on a plane and you let me know how that works on the back of a seatplane, as opposed to like, it's not perfect, but even just like the Folio keyboard that Samsung makes for their Galaxy tabs, like I've used that on a plane. It's much better than like trying to use these like third party. I hope my tablet doesn't fall over. I have several accessories just rattling around in my backpack kind of thing. It's just not very fun to use. To your point, like I wish Google had just
No.
partnered with a Logitech or
Or
someone
yeah,
to make a keyboard for this thing.
or just done it themselves again. Because again, it's the same company that made the
Yeah.
Pixel C, which is the best keyboard tablet of all time.
I've never held a Pixel C, and in fact, I forget it exists
It's
pretty
so
constantly.
wonderfully built.
Yeah,
The keyboard, because my problem with every tablet keyboard is that it is made to be used on a table.
right.
Whereas that one was, you pick it up, it's got the sturdiest hinge on the planet.
That's all I'm looking for in
It's just,
these
it was
two.
such a
It's a
well
hinge
done
thing.
concept. I really
Yeah.
wish they would just redo that again, because I think people would actually like it now.
When they have the ecosystem and the
Yeah.
Android is much better on tablets these days. They have like it has come a long way with
Yeah.
app support and just like big screen enhancements. Like it's not quite on the level of like some of the iPad exclusive apps that I just don't think Google will ever best unless they start like trying to acquire developers, which they're not going to. And they shouldn't. But largely speaking, like you can get a really good Android, especially like for most people who are just looking for a content consumption device anyway. Like,
Yeah, and
yeah,
I don't know. I think in a way they probably should have just stuck with what was probably the original plan for this thing, which was make a Nest Hub
yeah.
and call it a Nest Hub that just happens to be an Android tablet. And then they should have just released a Pixel tablet that was just a Pixel C, but new and maybe a little bit bigger.
A bizarre amount of shortcomings with
Yeah.
their hybrid idea, where I'll never get over that speaker dock does nothing if the tablet's detached. That thing
That
should
was
have been a
also
CAS
yeah, that was
receiver.
also a really bad idea.
It's so obvious that it like pains me. Like I truly, I remember when I like saw that thing at IO, I was astounded that it was not a cast receiver because I just thought that was of course it would work even when the tablets, like they've built smart speakers without displays. Like why wouldn't it just be one of those? But no, it was not. All right, Ben, let me, that was a fun little Pixel tablet.
I got a tangent in.
There we go. We'll end on this. Who do you think is doing the best ecosystem right now?
Oof. I mean, objectively, it's Apple. It's just
okay. Let's take Apple off the board. We'll take Apple off the board.
I think if you have to look at every single thing, it's probably Samsung. I would give OnePlus a lot of credit for everything they've built out. If Google had a decent tablet and had a little more weight in Chrome OS, they would probably be... Again, I don't think they would be beating Samsung, because Samsung really has built out a great ecosystem. It's just a matter of, do you like their ecosystem, what they built out?
You have to commit with Samsung.
Yeah.
You have to, like, if you try to be like, oh, okay, I'll get a Samsung phone and a Pixel Watch, or I'll get a Pixel 9 and a Galaxy Watch 7, like, the second you're trying to be like, well, my ecosystem is Android, not Samsung, like, things start to fall apart quickly. Not that it can't be used. You'll miss out on a few features, but really the headache will be that you have to install like 6 apps to use all these things.
And even if you're still using all Samsung stuff, you also have to commit to their software, which their services are not nearly as good. If Google actually made a decent tablet, I think they would be strongly rivaling, but I don't think they're quite there yet.
I agree. They're closer than ever, Google.
Yeah, 100%.
And like, that's why I find the Pixel tablet so frustrating, is because like, even, months after word that there is no second gen tablet, and I truly can't remember where we fell on the rumors of the third gen Pixel tablet, whether that was canceled or not. But I truly think they can get there. They just need to. I think they need a big screen device. Like, I think that it can be a tablet or a Chromebook, but I think they need to pick one. And once it's there, you're like, yeah, okay, I can see the entire Pixel ecosystem. I can see how Google wants me to do this. They have the watch, they have the phone, they have the TV set-top box, they have the, and then they'll have the bigger screen device. And I think that's everything. Okay, we're gonna chill out, because we love to relax here on the AP podcast with a fun little exploration into the Vegas sphere, which Ben and I have history with. We've been there together, kind of. We went to a Samsung event there during CES 2024. I know, Ben, I had to think about it too, because I want to say 2023, but no, it was 2024.
I think it was 2024.
And you can read this in the show notes. The story is Google's AI is bringing a classic film to life on the Vegas Sphere's massive screen. That film is The Wizard of Oz. They'll be playing it this summer. Jules's question for us, Ben, is not to talk about this news in particular, but rather, what movie do you pick for spherization, Jules? I got to add a syllable there. Nope, it's not going to work.
It to be spherification.
Thank you. That's what I was trying to get to. There we go. Spherification. Yes, Jules threw it in. Thank you.
It's an impossible word to say.
It's not fun to say. Especially when you're tired. Ben, what's your pick?
I mean, there's no way they'd be able to do it justice, but seeing Interstellar on a screen like that would be insane.
It would be insane. Interstellar is one of my picks. I feel like you and I will also share this one, which is that they should put Speed Racer on this thing.
That would also be really crazy to see.
I think
there's no way it would work.
No, but really crazy. Camera movements would be nuts on that thing. Like, the faces, just watching faces like twist around on it. And you're like, look, if you're listening to this and you've not seen the Wachowskis' landmark 2008 film, Speed Racer, go find that thing. It's so much better than people would lead you to believe.
Honestly, I think that movie is crazy enough to where you could just put it on that screen as is, and it would still kind of work.
It would kind of work.
That would work better than editing it with AI.
It would certainly be better than like most other movies where you'd be like, oh, weird, why'd they put a movie up there? That's weird. And then like, I think with Speed Racer, like everyone in Vegas would stop and be like, what is happening? so many colors. Like, why is the camera cutting every 30 seconds or every 1 second, 30 times a second? It's like, why do I like it? Yeah, Speed Racer, man, that movie is way ahead of its time. If you like Scott Pilgrim or anything like that, you should watch Speed Racer,
Yeah,
because
100%.
that movie is there's a lot of beloved Hollywood movies of the last 15 years that I think owe everything to Speed Racer. Is that my pick though? Trying to think of other go-to movies. Like, what else would it'd be kind of funny to put like truly dark or like twisted films there. Like, imagine like figuring out a way to put Mulholland Drive up there. Not that you could from a safe for work perspective, mind you, but like, like, let's just get twisted with it. That's where my brain wants to go. And then obviously I have to say it. It's in my Letterboxd 4, so I have to shout it out. And it's in Vegas. So Google, get Ocean's 11 up there.
Oh, that would be fun.
Get Ocean's 11 up there. Why not? Because then you've got all the Vegas landmarks while you're in Vegas. I'm just saying, they're still trying to make a new Ocean's movie. They shouldn't, to be clear.
Yes.
And I say that as a diehard fan. Yeah, Ben, any other movie picks?
Everything that comes to mind is just space movies, because I feel like those would work really well on that kind of screen.
Work really well, because it would. Oh God, yeah. I mean, just Star Wars alone would be cool.
Rogue One,
like, specifically. Sure,
that would take be really good.
It's not my fave. We've talked about it,
but that would work really well on that.
It would work really well. Yeah, they should do more of this though. Like, why not? Like, it's a fun project
if it comes out good. Because we still have no idea what it's going to look like.
It will debut on August 28th, 2025, which is 3 days after my 30th birthday. So if anyone wants to buy me tickets to Vegas to see this thing, you let me know. The Criterion Ball, says Jules in the chat. Okay. I do think that's probably a good place to leave it. Ben, as always, we ask each other on this podcast what is making us happy this week. Do you have one, or do you need more time?
I am looking forward to the weekend. Okay. I'm playing a disc golf tournament on Saturday.
There we go.
Yes, of course. He knows I'm going to say that.
What you got to know about Ben is that he loves disc golf, and he's made me go disc golfing. Yes. This is true. I agreed. This is not long ago. This was in January when we were together for the S25 launch. We went out in San Jose together, and I didn't do well. I think would be safe to say.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to that.
Please expound upon the pleasures and numbers of disc golf to our listeners. You heard Jules, Ben. Please expound upon the pleasures and numbers of disc golf to our listeners.
All right. Well, disc golf is played just like regular golf. It is the same way you score it, but it is on much smaller courses. You have a variety of different discs that you're throwing to a basket. It is very fun. It is very, if you want it to be, a very affordable sport to get into, because it's generally free.
Yeah. No, I had a really fun time.
It's not hard to learn. Just get a set.
It's hard to get good at, or
it's even very hard to get good at it.
Competent at, unless you're really good at throwing a disc. I feel like disc golf was around when I was at college, but like it was more of an ultimate frisbee era when I went to college. And I had lots of friends who played ultimate frisbee, and I had absolutely no interest in that game. It did not look like, it still doesn't look like fun to me. What a 2013 thing to say, where I'm like, what did the people I knew well as a freshman in college, what were they doing as extracurriculars? And the answer is like playing ultimate frisbee and Quidditch. Remember when that had a moment, Ben? Do you remember when Quidditch had a moment?
Not particularly, but
oh yeah,
I do remember
I went to like Quidditch games with my freshman college roommate who played terribly dangerous game physically, and I don't mean like in the movies. Sense. I mean like it's a bad idea to run around with a broomstick between your legs.
Yeah, it sounds like a very bad idea.
It's a bad idea. Wow, how far we've come. No, disc golf is great. It was like so nice to be out in nature for like 3 hours in San Jose while we like walked around, and Joe Maring, friend of the show, past and future guest, and I tried to keep up with you, and we, apologized every 30 seconds for throwing a one of your discs in a tree. But I'll final hole. I got par, and that's all that matters. That shows growth and improvement that you might not find if you don't try it. So, do you want to promote your discs, Ben?
Well, yes. Also, my wife Melissa does dye discs, so you can check her out. There's a link on my Instagram profile.
Go. They're very cool. Are some of those is that what's up in the wall behind you?
No, so those are there's in disc golf, just like regular golf. There's a governing body that makes the rules. Those are my PDGA discs, just that you get for each year being in it. The ones up on top are signed by pros.
Gotcha. Cool. Nice. That's awesome. My pick is decidedly less active. I don't think I've brought this up yet, but I spent the last month playing through Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep, which is a PSP game, and I really liked it. I was kind of surprised. I am a Kingdom Hearts fan, but kind of casually. I think a lot of those games are not very good, although I'm now ready to go back and try some of them, specifically Dream Drop Distance, which was on the 3DS, and 3, which I didn't like at the time. But it's been, I think I tried playing it in 2020, so it's been 5 years, so I'm ready to give it another shot. But I was very surprised how much I liked Birth by Sleep. You'd think having to play through essentially the same story 3 times would drive me nuts, but I actually quite liked it. And it was like a nice little kind of bite-sized RPG. I think I put 35 hours into it when all was said and done, and that felt like a really good, generally long, but for a JRPG short. So I quite liked that. And I'm now fully Kingdom Hearts pilled again for the first time. For the first time since I replayed Kingdom Hearts 2 during COVID, where I was like, I'm going to play all of them, and then didn't. But for this time, I'm like, for real though, I'm going to do all of them. So I spent last night getting, there is a modded version of,
oh boy.
of oh my god, I need to make sure I get the title right. 358 over 2 days, I believe, is how you say it. But if you look at how it is written out, it's gibberish. But the DS game, or one of the DS games, that puts it on a single screen and adds the HD cutscenes in and kind of makes it a little more modern. So I got that running on my Steam Deck. It's called Melon Mix if people are interested. But my real recommendation is Birth by Sleep, and that that franchise in general. It's when it's good, it's good. It hits when it hits, it hits. So Kingdom Hearts. That's my thumbs up for this week. Ben, thank you for coming on. We're going to have you back on. We're going to have you back on when Daniel's here, because I think the three of us would have a lot of fun. And I think, oh man, if Daniel had been here, we would have spent half an hour talking about the Sphere alone. So I think we'll have to have you back on for that. But tell us about 9to5 Google. Tell the listeners about 9to5 Google, what you're working on. If you've got anything coming up that you want people to read, or if you should just check out 9to5's news coverage, which I'm sure everyone listening to this already does. But, a promotion is a promotion.
Well, yeah, as mentioned earlier, our Pixel 9a review went up earlier today, although that is days ago from all of you listening. This weekend, or later this week, I don't know. What is time? I finally have my review of the Legion tab going up, which I actually was quite happy with. Nice. Do not read it if you actually care about gaming on that tablet, because I barely did. You
bought it because it's small.
Yes, I wanted a small tablet to put in my backpack and use on planes.
And because you hate fingerprint sensors.
And yes, I do have an entire rant about that.
Good.
Yeah, that's pretty much it from that. And then, yes, as noted, you're probably reading the news coverage, but if you're not, check it out.
Ben, it's been a long time coming. This will not be the last time you're on. I will make sure of that. And check out, not that you're on it, but as we talked about, 9to5 has its own Android podcast. So if you are not listening, if you need more Android in your life, go listen to Abner and Damien on the 9to5. Does that have a name? Now I don't know if it's
Pixelated is what it is now called.
There we go. We keep things so simple here. Just Android Please podcast. Drop the it's cleaner. I don't know. I'm very tired. That's a Social Network reference, and Ben hasn't seen the Social Network. So go find Ben on social media and shame him for having not seen the Social Network. That's it. That's our show. I hope the tariffs are okay when you're listening to this. I don't know. Maybe there's a deal. Maybe you were able to skip the entire beginning of this podcast because all of this is done and over and it's outdated. I hope so. I hope you pre-ordered a Switch too. Sorry. But yeah, thank you so much for listening. You can write the show at podcast@androidpolice.com. Jules is going to yell at me in the chat if that email address was wrong. I don't think it was. I really can only think about tariffs. So let us know if the current slate of tariffs are changing your buying habits. If you're buying stuff sooner than you thought you were going to, if you're going to hold off, if you are just kind of playing it by ear because who knows what tomorrow's going to bring. All of that is, I think, fair and valid. And also let us know what movies you would put on the sphere. That's a more fun topic. So hit us with both. You got to do both, though. You can't do one or the other. You got to do both. That's it. Thank you to Jules. Daniel will be back next week to do this outro better and faster than I can. Thank you for all for listening. Have a good weekend. Bye.